Traveling in 2025 is going to look very different, and if you're not prepared, you might find yourself stuck at the airport or facing unexpected fees.
From new ID requirements to surprising airline changes, some of these updates could make or break your trip.
That's why we're breaking down the 10 most important travel rule changes you'll need to know so you're not caught off guard.
Stick around until the end because we've got tips to help you stay ahead of the game and travel smarter this year.
So let's kick off the list with something that's going to affect millions of travelers in the United States, the Real ID requirements.
Starting May 7th, 2025, you'll need a Real ID compliant driver's license or an alternative form of identification, like a passport, to board domestic flights. This rule has been delayed multiple times, but now it's really happening.
So how do you know if your ID is compliant? Look for a star in the upper corner of your driver's license. If you don't see one, it's time to visit your local DMV and upgrade.
But don't wait until the last minute. DMVs are expected to be slammed with applications as the deadline approaches. Plus, some states require an appointment, so plan ahead.
But what happens if you show up at the airport without a Real ID or a valid alternative? Well, you won't be allowed past security, and your travel plans will come to an abrupt stop.
We recommend double checking your ID now and getting this sorted out sooner rather than later. Trust us. You don't want to be that person scrambling at the airport.
Up next, we're heading across the Atlantic for a new travel rule that's going to change how you enter Europe. Stick around for rule number 9, the Schengen Zone ETIAS. If you're planning a trip to Europe, this one is for you. Starting in 2025, travelers from visa-exempt countries like the US, Canada, and the UK will need to apply for an ETIAS authorization before entering the Schengen Zone.
ETIAS stands for European Travel Information and Authorization System, and it's essentially Europe's version of an electronic travel visa. It'll cost you $7 and it's valid for up to 3 years or until your passport expires.
The good news is the process is pretty straightforward. You'll fill out an online form with your personal information, travel plans, and some security questions. Most applications are approved within minutes, but it could take up to 96 hours in some cases, so don't leave this until the last second.
And here's something to note. You won't be allowed to board your flight to Europe without an approved ETIAS. Airlines are required to check before letting you on the plane.
This is a really big change, but it's also about improving border security. So make sure you're ready before you pack your bags to Europe in 2025.
And speaking of airlines, let's talk about a major update that could save or cost you some serious money. Rule 8 is all about flight cancellation policies.
Flight cancellations have always been a nightmare, but in 2025, some new rules are changing how airlines handle them, and it's mostly good news for travelers.
One big update for travelers originating their flights from the United States is that many airlines are now required to provide quicker refunds or rebooking options if your flight is canceled or significantly changed, like delayed more than 3 hours domestically in the US and 6 hours internationally, or if other things happen, like you're given extra connections or a change of airport. This means no more waiting for weeks to get your money back.
And the best part is the airlines are required to give you a cash refund automatically. So no more calling customer service or jumping through all kinds of hoops. Also, airlines are introducing policies to ensure better communication during disruptions. Some are even offering compensation if they can't rebook you within a certain amount of time.
But, like always, there's a catch. These changes vary by airline and destination. For example, rules for EU-based airlines might be stricter than those for US carriers. So always read the fine print.
Know your rights before you fly. If your flight is canceled, you'll be ready to request what you're entitled to instead of scrambling for answers.
Coming up, we're diving into lost luggage and how Apple is teaming up with airlines to solve this age-old problem.
Rule number 7, lost luggage and Apple AirTags. Losing your luggage is one of the worst things that can happen while you're traveling. Up until last year, if you had AirTags on your luggage, you could see where your bags were, but you couldn't share the information with the airlines. But in 2025, Apple is stepping in to help make it easier to track your bags.
Apple has partnered with over 15 major airlines to integrate AirTag technology into their baggage systems. This means if your bags go missing, you can now share your bag's location with your airline to help them find your bags in real time.
So here's how it works. Attach an AirTag to your luggage and share a link to your AirTag with the airline. If it gets lost, the airline can access its location using Apple's Find My network. You'll get updates directly, saving you the frustration of long waits at the baggage claim counter.
This partnership is a game changer, but keep in mind, not all airlines are participating yet. Check with your airline before your trip to see if they're on board.
And if you're worried about privacy, Apple assures users that AirTag data is secure and can't be accessed by just anybody.
Up next, we've got some exciting news for US citizens. Renewing your passport just got a whole lot easier.
Rule 6, online passport renewals for US citizens. Renewing your passport has always been a hassle, but in 2025, US citizens can finally renew their passports online. No more printing forms, finding a post office, or waiting in long lines.
This new system allows you to upload your photo, pay the renewal fee, and track your application status, all from your computer or phone. It's perfect for those frequent travelers or those who need a last-minute renewal.
So how about if you're an American citizen living in Mexico and you want to renew your passport? Can you do it online?
Unfortunately not. US citizens living abroad still need to do it the old-fashioned way.
The process is simple. Just visit the State Department's website, fill out the application, and make sure your photo meets the requirements. The turnaround time is about the same as mailing it in, but the convenience is unbeatable.
Keep in mind that this option is currently only available for renewals, not first-time applicants. So if you're getting your passport for the first time, you'll still need to do it the old-fashioned way.
Speaking of rules, let's talk about carry-on luggage. The US is finally standardizing what you can bring on board, and Rule 5 covers the details. Rule number 5, standardized carry-on rules in the US. Ever been frustrated by inconsistent carry-on rules between airlines? In 2025, the US is finally standardizing these guidelines to make flying less confusing.
The new rules set the maximum dimensions at 24 inches by 14 inches by 9 inches, or 56 centimeters by 40 centimeters by 23 centimeters for those of us in the rest of the world. Weight limits will range between 15 and 22 pounds, or 7 to 10 kilos, depending on the airline.
While these guidelines bring more consistency, it's still a good idea to check your airline's specific policy, especially if you're flying internationally. Some carriers may still have stricter rules.
Now's the time to invest in a carry-on that meets these dimensions and is lightweight. It'll save you from surprise fees at the gate.
Coming up, we're taking a closer look at how Europe is upgrading its border security with the new entry-exit system. Rule number 4, European entry-exit system. Heading to Europe? Get ready for a new biometric entry and exit system known as EES that's rolling out in 2025. This system will replace the traditional passport stamp with a more advanced check-in process. If you're one of those people that likes to collect passport stamps, this is bad news for you and us.
I know, we love doing that.
I know, it's part of the fun of travel.
Here's how it works. When you arrive, your fingerprints and digital photo will be taken, and your information will be stored in a secure database. It's all part of Europe's effort to streamline border crossings and enhance security.
While it might sound invasive, the process is quick and efficient. Plus, the data is securely stored and only used for border control purposes.
Just remember, the EES applies to all non-EU travelers, including those from visa-exempt countries. So if you're visiting Europe in 2025, this is a rule you can't ignore.
Next up, rule number 3, how the UK is tightening its travel requirements with a new ETA system. Rule number 3, UK ETA requirement. If you're planning a trip to the UK, 2025 introduces a new requirement, the UK Electronic Travel Authorization, or ETA.
This system is similar to the ETIAS for Europe. Travelers from visa-exempt countries will need to apply for the ETA before visiting the UK. It costs about $13 and it's valid for 2 years.
The application process is straightforward. You'll submit your personal details, travel plans, and answers to security questions online. Most applications are approved within minutes, but it could take longer, so plan ahead.
Without an ETA, you will not be allowed to board your flight or enter the UK. Make sure this is on your checklist if the UK is on your travel itinerary.
Coming up, we're tackling one of the biggest questions travelers have. Is the 311 liquids rule finally going away? Is it?
Stay tuned.
The rule disappearance of the 311 liquids rule. For years since September 11, 2001, the 311 liquids rule has been a source of frustration for travelers. In 2025, we might finally see it disappear, but there's a catch.
Some airports are rolling out this new scanning technology, mostly in Europe. That makes this rule obsolete. With these advanced scanners, you won't have to limit your liquids to 3.4 ounces or separate them in clear bags.
But not all airports are implementing the change at the same time, which means you could fly out of one airport with no restrictions, only to encounter the old ones on your return trip.
Our advice, until the new system is fully implemented everywhere, pack as if the 311 rule still applies. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah. And finally, let's talk about the biggest shift in air travel for 2025, airline policy changes. Rule number 1, changes in airline policies. Airlines are rolling out new policies in 2025 that will impact everything from fees to seating options. Some are good, but others might cost you more.
For instance, several airlines are introducing premium seating options, like first-class upgrades on budget carriers. JetBlue is also unveiling new premium lounges.
On the flip side, you'll want to watch out for new fees. Some airlines are starting to charge for carry-ons or even basic seat selection. It's a reminder to always read the fine print before booking.
The best way to avoid surprises is to research your airline's policies in advance and consider loyalty programs or credit cards that waive fees.
With so many changes in 2025, being informed is the key to a stress-free trip. Which of these changes impacts you the most? Let us know in the comments.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with fellow travelers. See you on the next one.
Bye, everybody.